Hey guys, this is Isabel from Cognito Forms. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the person field and why it's so useful. I'll demonstrate how to set up a person field, how to easily convert old lookup fields to person fields, and I'll also give you some tips on how to get the most out of it. So what is a person field? A person field is a lookup field specifically for a person. Like a lookup field, you can use a person field to reference the same list of people on multiple forms. A person can be anyone, even a customer, but it's most powerful when assigned to users within your Cognito Forms organization. For example, you can assign tasks and route email notifications more easily using a person field. And you can also automatically populate form fields with the current user's information. To demonstrate how this works, let's look at how to set up a person field. The first step to setting up a person field is to create a source form where each entry represents a person. For example, this source form gathers information about each employee in my organization, including their name, position, email, phone number, address, whether or not they're an active employee, whether or not they're a manager, and who their manager is. And if I select the field labeled manager, you'll notice it's a lookup field that looks up choices from this same form. If you already have a source form like this, maybe it's connected to an expense report or a timesheet, or any other form where you're using a source form to populate choices of people. There's a simple way to convert it from a lookup field to a person field. On your source form, go to your form settings and turn on Use with a Person field and assign several attributes to the person you're creating. The name and email is always required, and if you don't include that information here, you'll see an error message and you won't be able to create your person field. But if your form is already set up as a lookup field, it'll continue to function normally with no operational issues. Although the name and email are required, the photo avatar and active status are not required. They're just nice to have and can help you stay more organized. When I open the drop-down menu under the name, you'll notice that it only gives me one option because I only have one name field on this form. But when I open the drop-down menu under email, I have two options because I have two email fields on this form. For this scenario, I'll choose the work email. Since I don't have a file upload field on this form, the photo avatar drop-down menu doesn't provide any options. But once I add one, you'll see it listed here. Lastly, if we look at the Is Active drop-down menu, we see two choices because I have two yes or no fields on this form. In this case, it makes sense to choose the field labeled Active. If we save and refresh this form, you'll see the field labeled Manager has now converted from a lookup field to a person field. That's all it takes to set up a person field source form. To demonstrate how it functions and how to take advantage of the extra benefits it offers, let's now look at an expense report form. This expense report form includes all the basic information you'd expect. And in this scenario, an employee would start the workflow by submitting the expense report. The employee's manager would then approve or deny it, and then it would go to an accounts payable specialist who would submit the reimbursement. So looking at this form, what can I do now to get the most possible benefit from the person field? First of all, I could use the person field instead of this name field. That way, when the employee opens the form, their name will automatically appear here. If this is a new form without any entry data, you can simply delete the name field. But if you're in a situation where you've already collected data that you want to keep, you could click on the old name field and set it to show never. And if you had previously required this field on your form, you would also change that to never. That way you can add a person field to this form without deleting any old entry data. Alright, so once I've added my new person field and labeled it, you'll notice that when I go to the drop-down menu under Lookup People From, there's only one option, because that's the only form I have so far which uses a person field. If you happen to have more than one source form, just be careful which one you choose, because this can't be changed after saving your form. Once I choose the correct source form, the setting defaults to the current user, meaning that whoever is logged in will see their name automatically appear here. If this is the first time you're using a person field set to default to the current user, you'll see this notification prompting you to turn on authentication. Your two options are dismiss or turn on. If whoever is in the public role will not be logged into Cognito Forms, you'll need to hit dismiss because it's not possible to authenticate those users. If, however, users in the public role will always be logged into Cognito Forms, you can choose Require Authentication. Since my users will always be logged in, I'll click Turn On. But if you happen to make the wrong selection or just change your mind down the line, You can always find this setting again by going into your Workflow tab and opening up the section under Public Links. You'll see Require Authentication here. Now that I've added a person field to my form, it also becomes a lot easier to adjust the workflow. Let's take a look at the roles and how they're assigned. In this case, we have the employee in the public role, the manager in the internal role, and accounting in the other type role. If we open the employee role and look at the drop-down menu under Share Specific Entries With, we'll see person fields from our source form. The one labeled Name represents the employee, and Name.Manager represents the employee's manager. For this role, we'll set it to Share Specific Entries with Name and hit Save. For the manager role, we'll set it to Name.Manager. But if we open up the accounting role, we don't have any appropriate options yet. In most cases, you would only need one person field per form, since you can target person field data through calculations and pull those values into other fields on your form. But in this scenario, adding a second person field is necessary. Underneath the File Upload field, I'm going to add a person field and label it Accounts Payable. I'll look up choices from my employee list. I would then only include people where active is yes, and position is Accounts Payable Specialist. I'll also default to people whose position is Accounts Payable Specialist. If there's only one person in my organization who I need to share these entries with, I can simply set this field to Show Never, and then go back to the Workflow section and assign the accounting role to the Accounts Payable person. But let's say I have more than one person in my organization that's an Accounts Payable Specialist, and down the line, I may want to assign entries as tasks to more than one person. If that's the case, I would delete this person field and add a new person field, except this time I would select checkboxes as the type. I would then only include people where active is yes, and position is Accounts Payable Specialist. I'll also default to people whose position is Accounts Payable Specialist. If we preview the form, we'll see that both Accounts Payable Specialists in my organization are automatically selected. Since we don't need that part to show on the form, I'll go ahead and set it to show this field Never. Then I can go back into my workflow roles and set the accounting role to Accounts Payable Specialists. And if we wanted to set up email notifications at this point, the person fields we just set up would also make that easier. If we open the email notification for the submit action, you'll notice we can easily insert email addresses for the employee, the manager, and the Accounts Payable Specialists. That's all we're going to cover in this video, and even though it was a fairly basic use case, it demonstrated the main benefits of using the person field to help automate your forms and stay more organized. If you'd like more information on the person field, you can check out our user guides at cognitoforms.com/support or reach out to us directly by submitting a support request.